Guys, welcome into a little fun video giving my top 10 bold prediction for college football 2022 season. And guys, I pride myself on getting these right. I did this last year. It was unbelievable. I had like an 80% success rate on these type of picks. So I think, I fully believe in my heart all of these 10 things are going to happen. They're all semi-realistic. Some of them are a little bit more bold than others, but they all realistically can happen, and I do have legitimate reasons for why these are going to happen. They're just my opinions, guys. But let's get right into my top 10. Starting with number 10, we've got CJ Stroud throwing for over 54 touchdowns on the season. Guys, this is a prediction. A lot of it depends on how much does CJ actually play in some of these second halves, but I think Ohio State does play the full 15 games. That means they play 2 playoff games and the Big Ten championship. CJ starts all of those. I see him eclipsing the 54 touchdown mark. Originally, I was going to say 60 touchdown passes, but it's tough because Ohio State tends to really, in many of these games, like when they face Arkansas State, when they face Toledo, when they face Rutgers, Indiana, we're probably not going to see CJ play in the second half of any of those games. So that's why I had to bring it down to 54. But remember, CJ didn't even play in one of the regular season games last year. They didn't play in the Big Ten championship game. He only ended up starting, I think, 12 games, and he threw 44 touchdown passes in his first year as a starter. And he also didn't play a lot of second halves. Michigan State game, they blew him out. He didn't play in the second half. The Purdue game, they ran the ball mainly. So, guys, I think CJ Stroud, he's currently the favorite for the Heisman. It's so tough in college football. It basically never happens where the preseason Heisman favorite actually wins the award. So that's maybe a bad omen, but I still think it's going to be an amazing season with that wide receiver nucleus. You've got JSN, you've got Marvin Harrison Jr., you've got Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming as a wild card. Of course, with Trevion Henderson, the superstar sophomore running back, CJ Stroud is going to be unbelievable. I think he ends up being the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft in 2023. Number 9, the University of Miami makes a New Year's 6 game. That's Miami of Ohio. I'm kidding. Miami, Florida, with Mario Cristobal, obviously, of the ACC. I love them this year. They're actually being underrated. They finally have a legitimate star quarterback for the first time in forever in Tyler Van Dyke. The only thing I'm concerned about with Miami is the lack of overall skill position players, but their defense, Leonard Taylor's ready to break out. He's a former 5-star. They've got James Williams. They've got talented guys from the portal as well, and you're in an ACC conference that is susceptible. There are many winnable games for Miami. I think they end up in a New Year's 6 game based. You've got Mario Cristobal coming in, great coach. He's going to build an amazing infrastructure. They get off the ground running. They've got that crazy NIL thing going. They're recruiting really well. They keep the momentum going, and they win a New Year's 6 bowl game. Number 8, the University of Houston wins 11 games, meaning they go 11-1 in the regular season, and they are the Group of 5 New Year's 6 representative. Guys, one of the interesting things I've noticed in this preseason coverage of college football is nobody's talking about how bad the American Conference is. Guys, it's straight up awful, the American this year. You've got UCF without Dylan Gabriel. You've got Cincinnati basically in a rebuilding year after losing 8 or 9 guys to the draft. It is wide open. Houston returns their quarterback who threw for 30 touchdown passes last year. They've got an amazing receiver, Nathaniel Dell, who's going to have 1,200 yards and probably at least 10 touchdowns. I love this Houston team in a watered-down American Conference. It's down this year. They're going to take advantage of that. They're going to finish probably inside the AP Top 15, 11-1, and they will be the New Year's 6 representative out of the American. Let's move to number 7. How about this? Oregon finishing the regular season ranked higher than Utah. And guys, the deal with Oregon, the schedule is crazy. Everything sets up great. Oregon doesn't face USC. They face Utah at home. They face UCLA at home. This is a crazy schedule for Oregon. It's the tough week 1 game versus Georgia in Atlanta, Georgia. That's somehow a neutral site game. I don't understand that. But either way, we also have to think about this Oregon team. Bo Nix. People may clown on him, but he's still a mobile, decent quarterback who can win games in the Pac-12, and he has a lot of experience, and that defense is extremely underrated. Yes, they lose Mario Cristobal, but you're bringing in a new defensive coach from Georgia. I really like this Oregon team. The defense, I think there's 3 former 5-stars on this defense, even with the loss of Kayvon Thibodeau. Very underrated team with an extremely manageable Pac-12 schedule. They beat Utah at home. I think this sets up great for the University of Oregon in 2022 to surprise a lot of people, and I've got them finishing ranked higher than Utah at the end of the regular season. Number 6, I'm going with Georgia missing the playoff. So, repeating in college football is so hard. And my theory right now on Georgia, there's just not enough offense and there's a completely new defense. Now, Georgia has recruited to the level where they can reload, not rebuild. I agree with that. But let's just say Georgia loses to Florida in the regular season. They lose to Alabama in the SEC championship. They're out. That's my expectation for them. I think they lose 2 games overall. The Florida game, maybe even the South Carolina Week 3 game if you really want to get crazy. It's an early season road game. Upset possible there. So Georgia, I'm not a believer in Stetson Bennett. It's kind of weird because they did win a national title, but we know they lost 5 defensive players in the first round of the draft, so that is a lot to replace. They've recruited to where they can replace it. But I am not feeling Georgia this year. I've got so much respect for what Kirby Smart has built. It's amazing. Georgia fans should be ecstatic. They just won the national title. It's nothing against their program. It's just what I'm looking this year. I'm seeing them missing the playoff guaranteed. I'll be at every analytical data point I've looked at. They're going to be missing the playoff. Number 5, we've got Brendan Armstrong throwing for over 32 passing touchdowns, and Virginia finishing the season inside the top 25. Virginia is one of my surprise teams. I've been looking at these FBS lists where they rank every preseason team, and I'm always befuddled when I look and I see Virginia ranked 58th, ranked 65th, when you've got a superstar quarterback like Brendan Armstrong, when you're in a watered-down ACC. Very winnable games. And they have a very easy non-conference, so they're going to have virtually 3 wins. I think their hardest non-conference game is at Illinois. And Brendan Armstrong, they return 3 stud pass catchers as well. The infrastructure they have there, you've got a superstar quarterback, you've got solid receivers, actually above average receivers, several of them. So this Virginia team, watch out. They do have weaknesses. The offensive line is a weakness. The defense isn't great. We understand that. But you can offset it in the ACC, win some games with just a really good offense. I think they do that. Brendan Armstrong has a great breakout season, possibly the best offensive QB season in Virginia history, in my opinion, throwing for over 42 touchdown passes. And Virginia ranked throughout the regular season, and they finished the season ranked, in my opinion. They're one of my surprise teams. Moving to number 4, I do have Will Anderson winning the Heisman, so there's a lot to look at when this prediction, obviously a defensive player, it's very hard, but I think there is this conception, about the overall Heisman Award being just a quarterback award, and the way the narrative is going to set up in 2022. Will Anderson's stats in 2021 were just almost borderline fake. 34 tackles for loss, I believe is what it was. He's a junior. He's only going to get better. And there's going to be a narrative where I think a lot of these Heisman voters, one of these years, are going to say, all right, let's just give it to a defensive player. Will Anderson really has the chance. He's going to have to dominate. He is going to have to thoroughly dominate, but with how good he is, I believe he can do it. This is a generational type pass rusher who's extremely twitchy. He's fast, he's big, he's everything you want in a college pass rusher, and the narrative is going to set up great for Will Anderson. They're dying to give it to a defensive player because they don't want this weird thing with the Heisman where everyone thinks it's just the QB award right now. It's a very narrative-based award, and these voters are going to see Will Anderson, and they're going to see an opportunity and say, listen, if no one else, no QBs are doing crazy things like having a Joe Burrow LSU 2019 season, they might see an opportunity if Will Anderson has just ridiculous numbers, which quite frankly, he had ridiculous numbers in 2021. But if he has ridiculous numbers again, there's an opening, in my opinion, that he can win the Heisman. You could say there's Alabama voter fatigue because we've had Bryce Young, we've had Devontae Smith, we've had Derrick Henry, but I do think it's different because it's a defensive player. Bryce Young, I agree, there's basically no chance he can win the Heisman. They're just not going to do that. I think Will Anderson, even though it's an Alabama player, there's probably Bama voter fatigue. Because he's a defensive player, it's different. That's just how I view it, personally. So that's my number 4 prediction. Number 3, this is just the standard upset. I do have Central Michigan beating Oklahoma State in week 1. And guys, when you think about Oklahoma State, every single year, it seems like early in the season, they almost lose or they lose to a really bad Group of 5 team. And I'm feeling something right now. Week 1, Oklahoma State, I think, is being overrated by a lot of people. They lose Jim Knowles. And it's just a vibe I'm getting right now. I think they lose 5 or 6 games personally. And this would be a crazy upset to predict. Again, it's just one of those weird things I'm seeing. I literally have visions about this stuff, and it is crazy, guys. So that is number 3. Number 2, LSU goes 6-6. So this actually might not even be that bold. Well, I guess it is a little bit. I could see LSU going 7-5, honestly, but I just think the Brian Kelly hire, not a good hire. You know, Jane Daniels is a talented quarterback. I do think he will win the starting job for LSU. They do actually have 3 decent quarterbacks, LSU does. But overall, the Brian Kelly fit with that team, not good. Really talented roster. Keyshawn Butte, we'll see if he can stay healthy. It's just not a good fit, in my opinion. So that's why I think they will go 6-6. Originally, my prediction was I had them missing a bowl game, but I looked at their schedule, and I do think they will at least get 6 wins personally. And then number 1, it is Ohio State going 15-0. So what that means, they go undefeated in the regular season, they win the Big Ten championship, and then they win both playoff games. And guys, the deal with this prediction, every analytical data point I see points to Ohio State going 15-0. Every single one of them. So when I've got that, I can't ignore it. And we also know how college football works. It kind of works in rotations. Ohio State, they're extremely talented. They haven't won since 2014. They've got a returning quarterback. They've got a superstar running back. They've got a defense that's going to be extremely talented. They had one of the greatest defensive hauls in the 2021 recruiting class. Many of those guys will be high contributors as sophomores. And the analytics say this team is a lock to win the national title, guys. Everything I look at, it's come together for Ohio State. It is so uplifting to see this and to predict this for this amazing university. And it's not me being a homer. I'm a college football fan. This is legitimate. This is real, guys. It's the way college football works. You have to understand it. The schedule, it's everything. It's aligned. Not winning since 2014. The returning quarterback, the defense improved, the superstar receiving core, the superstar running back. Everything sets up, and everything tells me that Ohio State will not lose a game in 2022. That's how crazy it's going to be for them. So, guys, those are my top 10 predictions. I'm guessing I'm probably going to get maybe, hopefully 6 or 7 of them when it comes to the overall, how many I get. But I do believe all 10 of these have a high chance of happening. But they are just my opinions, and they're very bold, so you've got to temper your expectations. But just a little food for thought on some certain things, guys. That is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.